Hi everyone! So today I got a Tornado V3 and it is the Pioneer version. I will spare you the unboxing, so here are the cubes. I've got my Tornado V3 standard about a week or a week and a half ago. I come from Tornado V3 standard. That's the one. What I like about the standard version is that it is very light. It weighs about 69 to 70 grams and it feels really airy. Like in some places you can see how it shines through, and the centers are all with these little holes so you can see the springs. So all in all, the cube is really light. It's not as ridiculously light as the GAN flagships, but pretty close to them. That said, this cube really takes well to lube. It tolerates a lot of lube. It doesn't gum up, like if you don't solve for a few days. A GAN 12 or a GAN 11 would gum up, even if you use a light lube like Martian or Lubical Speedy or whatever. But this one takes really well to lube. It is pretty quiet, not as quiet as the V2. So here I have the V2, and let me find, yeah, listen. It's just totally quiet, unless a magnet clicks. So with clicking magnet, without clicking magnet. And here's the V3. It makes this rather pleasant sort of rustling or rattling noise, but it's also pretty quiet. And I have done about 1,000 solves on the Tornado's V3 standard, and I really like this cube so far. If you prefer the WRM maglev or WRM 2021, it is more fluid, like it cuts effortlessly, and it's just very forgiving cube. Tornado V3 is more snappy. It's more loud when it cuts, but the corner cutting is pretty good. So let's see. So this is the WRM, and at line to line, sometimes it locks up, sometimes it cuts. Oops. So yeah, line to line is the borderline for the WRM, and for the Tornado it cuts with effort, but it cuts. I'm pretty sure I can adjust my WRM to a bit looser screw depth, and maybe it will cut better, but it doesn't really matter. So I never get lockups on the WRM, and I almost never got lockups on the Tornado. But it is more snappy. A lot of reviewers describe it as more tactile, so it is indeed more tactile. So for the settings on the standard version, I use 1 for travel distance, it is the loosest setting, and 2 for the springs. This is the second loosest setting. The reason for that is that the loosest screw depth allows for the best corner cutting, and pretty loose springs make the corner cutting less snappy. So if I tighten it more, it will be more snappy. That's why I prefer compensating it with lube, and currently I use Nebula for that. By the way, I really like previous Speedcube shops labels more, because they're transparent. You can see how many lube you have left, unlike with the new labels. All right, so now let us check the Pioneer version. I have done maybe 10 or 20 sols on it, and here are some differences. First, it is noticeably heavier. It is about 10 or 11 grams heavier, and I'm not sure if I like that. I think this is the first thing to keep in mind if you are choosing between the Pioneer and the flagship version. The flagship version is 73 grams as far as I remember, so it is just 3 or 4 grams heavier than the standard one. The flagship version should be pretty light, but this one is pretty hefty. Like, it's not heavy like the GTS 3M is 92 grams and this one is 80 or 81, but it is heavier. Next, the thing that I noticed, it is louder. Just listen to this. I think that this is due to many tiny plastic parts that move when you turn. So you can even hear this. I think this is the core magnets attracting to the core, and those little plastic parts, they are not glued in. They can move just a bit, and the core pieces, they're also not glued in. You can actually take them off, and I'm not sure if they snap really snugly. I think this noise will also be present in the flagship version, so that should be about the same. So the clicky magnets and moving parts for the flagship and the Pioneer should be the same, but the flagship version will be a bit lighter, and also the Pioneer is really fast. Currently I have it at the weakest magnet setting, so it comes at 2, but I turn it to 1, and I use 3 on the standard version. The magnet strength is about the same, maybe even a bit weaker on the Pioneer, but it sort of feels softer. So now I can finally compare what a cube with core magnets and without core magnets feels like. So for GAN cubes, you can take out the corner magnets and try the cube without the corner magnets, but you can't adjust the edge magnet setting. So the GAN flagship without corner magnets is just ridiculously flimsy, and you can't really compare it. But here you can compare the cube with regular magnets. It snaps in place at every quarter turn, and this one is sort of a bit more smooth, and when I turn, I think I can feel the difference. So it's not as drastic difference, but it is pretty stable. So it is really fast, and let us check the settings. So here I have it on 1 and 2, and this one I have on 1 and 5, so the tightest maglev setting. Here's a curious thing. So I think you might have known that the standard and the flagship version has the clear adjustment part, and the Pioneer version has the primary adjustment part, but there are also some more differences. See here, all the numbers just repeat as you go around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here there is something different. You see 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's due to the fact that you don't actually compress the maglev. You sort of misalign the maglev magnets, and when they are misaligned the most, it is setting 1, and the cube is the fastest. But I aligned them fully, and it is on sort of the tightest, but it is still very fast. It is faster than this one with setting 2. So this is another major difference, and if you like very, very fast cubes, get the maglev, the Pioneer version. If you like more reasonable speed, get the flagship or the standard version. What I also want to mention, the center caps, yeah, all the reviewers say that the center caps are different. So it is XMD 3 V3. Here they are different. The one with these tabs is for the standard and flagship, and the one with these tiny bumps are for the Pioneer version. The Pioneer caps actually are easier to remove, easier to put on, and the standard one are more snappy. Okay, what else? Yeah, sorry for the pause. I actually got my standard version with the core magnets. I think this was a mistake, because I've heard from other people who got the standard version. They don't have any core magnets, and mine actually had one of these corner magnets wrong. It had wrong polarity, and I only found that out when I removed them. Yes, you can remove them. I actually used this little comb for that. So you just put it in there and you can remove the magnets. So what I did with my core magnets, which are useless in the standard version because you don't have corner magnets, I fixed the one part that had a wrong polarity. I put a needle right in there and just hammered it out, and took the magnet in and flipped it and put it back. So now I have this standard version with core magnets, and what I'm planning to do later is take the corners out of the Pioneer and put them in here and use it as a flagship version. First, I'm going to really break in the Pioneer version and see how I like it, and then I will try the sort of do-it-yourself flagship version. So currently the version I recommend the most is probably the flagship, because it has reasonable speed and it is lighter, it is a bit cheaper. There is no spring noise whatsoever, so the spring is actually between the plastic. So here's the plastic part, and there is plastic down there. So there is no contact of the screw, the metallic screw cap, and the spring. So there can't be any metal-to-metal contact. The screw only touches this plastic thing. So you don't have any spring noise. So actually you only should get the Pioneer version if you want the cube heavier and /or faster. So these are some impressions. These are only my first impressions of the Pioneer and some comparison. So I hope this was helpful, and I also wanted to mention the auto alignment feature. So it's not as prominent as in Gen 12, but it is pretty noticeable. So yeah, and the core to corner magnets come pretty close to each other. Let me show you right there. So the gap is maybe about 1 millimeter or even less.